Hello, continuing our reading in Ereth's Birthday by Avi. Today is chapter 8, Following and Moving On. Marty the Fisher had been as surprised as Ereth when the fox's call came out of the woods. He looked from Ereth to the woods, from the woods to Ereth, wondering what he should do. Of course, Ereth had made the decision for him. When the porcupine broke away from the cabin and went lumbering through the snow toward the sound of the call, a puzzled Marty followed from a safe distance. Then he saw Ereth disappear behind a mound of snow and heard low voices. Alarmed, he swiftly, silently crawled up a tree and out along a branch, then looked down. When he saw the trapped fox, he was so startled he almost fell out of the tree. As the fox and Ereth talked, Marty watched. He could not hear what they were saying. Then the fox slumped down and the porcupine backed away. The next moment, Ereth hurried off. Staring at the scene below, Marty was filled with anger. The fox was dead. He knew who she was, too. Leaper. He knew of her kits and her husband. Humans! The fisher hissed with fury. Then he saw where Ereth had gone and his anger redoubled. Look at him. He thinks he's beyond all that. Just runs off, the self-centered, good-for-nothing. More than ever, Marty resolved to catch the porcupine. Most likely, I'm only going to get one chance, he reminded himself. It has to be right. As long as he stays beneath the trees, I'll be fine. Be patient, Marty. Be very patient, he told himself as he resumed his stalking. Ereth plunged on through the thick, soft snow. She said there were kits, he mumbled to himself with disgust. 3 months old babies, nothing but poop and puke, puke and poop, helpless, brainless, useless. The only thing I hate more than children is babies. Oh, babies, he sneered with contempt. Never could figure out why they were so many babies. They can't do anything. Right, he said, halting in his tracks. And that means I should forget the whole thing, head back to the salt, and for once do something nice for myself. Then Ereth had a terrible thought. The traps. Hadn't the humans said they had staked out many of them? With so much snow, the traps would be as invisible and odorless to him as they had been to the fox. They could be anywhere. He could be caught. Engulfed by rising panic, he began to move forward again. But now each step he took was a cautious one. Now and again he paused nervously to check over the trail he had made. It looked as if someone had dragged a bulky bag through the snow. I could follow my own trail back, he told himself. Safe once, safe twice. He turned around. Except, he muttered, I suppose somebody needs to tell those kids what happened to their mother. If they come looking for her, they could get caught too. The thought was too ghastly for Ereth to contemplate. Besides, he told himself, if he did not tell the kids what had happened, they might never know. Being stupid youngsters, they were liable to just sit there and wait for her to come back. Doing nothing for themselves, they could starve to death. That's the way the young folks are, Ereth thought. Always waiting for someone to give them a handout, even if the waiting kills them. He turned back around and continued in the direction of the fox's den. Of course, his thoughts continued. If they did know what happened, if they had any brains, which isn't very likely, they could go out and find their father. That's what they should do. Let him take care of them. Wonder where the father is. Gone for a holiday, probably. Foxes are such idiots. But then all meat eaters are jerks. He groaned. All that incredible salt sitting there, and, I could use some sleep. Once again, he looked back in the direction of the log cabin. For a second, he thought he saw what appeared to be a shadow moving high among the branches. It startled him. You're getting jumpy, he told himself. No, not jumpy. Gilded carrot quats, he swore. The truth is, I don't want to do what I promised to do. He rubbed his nose and sniffed. Then again, I suppose it won't hurt me to drop by and tell those kids what happened. The salt isn't going to walk away. And maybe I could sleep in their den, long as it doesn't stink of meat. Oh, then get back to the salt in the morning. Now, where did she say those kits were? The porcupine wondered out loud as he peered around. About a mile east from where I found her, in a low bluff behind some rocks. A blue rock. Oh, boiled badger boogers! He growled in exasperation. I hate this! He studied the scene before him. With everything buried in snow, it was hard to distinguish anything. Rocks, boulders, bushes. Much less determine where he was. Coming out from the woods, Ereth found an open field stretching before him. Blanketed in snow, it lay in perfect stillness. The new snow, untouched, untrod upon, appeared to have been there since time began. Moonlight gave it a radiant glow. At the far end of the field was a bluff. It rose up sharply, as if half a hill had simply dropped away. Peering at it, Ereth could see the lumpy outline of rocks and boulders beneath the snow. Chipmunk tail squeezers, Ereth said. I'll bet that's where her den is. It fit the fox's description and seemed logical. Anyone approaching the den from across the field would be seen from a safe distance, and it wasn't likely anyone would drop down to the den from the top of the bluff. It was too steep. No, but how am I, in the middle of the night, supposed to find a blue boulder that's buried in snow? With a snarl that was half anger, half weariness, Ereth moved out across the field. Suddenly he stopped. Oh, great gaskins and maggot mange, he cried. What am I supposed to say to those kits? The thought of it made him groan out loud. Oh, tell it to them straight, he told himself. Right off. They'll have to face the mucus sometime or another. It's a rough world. No sentimental slip-slop for me. I'll say, hello, guess what? Here's the news. Your mother's dead. Go find your father. Goodbye. Yes, that's the way it's going to be. If they don't like it, they can eat my quills. Grimly determined, Ereth continued to push forward. As he went on, he kept practicing his speech. Hello, guess what? Here's the news. Your mother's... It took him a while to reach the base of the bluff. Once there, he halted and searched for some clue that might tell him where the fox's den was. But now that he was close, he could see that there were many boulders embedded in the bluff. Every one was jagged and irregular. In the best of weather, the den's entryway would be masked. Now it was further hidden by snow. Oh, lazy lizard lips, Ereth complained bitterly. If those kits are deep inside some den, I'll never find them. More weary than ever, the porcupine waddled along the base of the bluff in search of some meaningful sign. Suddenly, he heard a single yelp. It seemed to come from within the bluff itself. Ereth had no doubt it was one of the kits. He was close. He held his breath in the hope that the sound would be repeated. Though it took some time, Ereth was shivering by now. It came. This time the yelp was behind him. With a grunt of exasperation, the old porcupine wheeled about, trying to determine the exact location of the sound. Once again, there was only silence. Bat bilge, the porcupine muttered angrily. Since I'm spending so much time looking for them, the least they could do is be helpful. He took another step and paused. From almost right over his head, he heard an explosion of yelps. He peered up the bluff to see a particularly jagged group of rocks. He began to move up. Upon reaching the first of the boulders, he scratched the snow away to expose the surface. The rock was dark, but in the moonlight it had a blue cast. Ereth had no doubt he was close to the den, but where was the entry? He crawled higher. Twice he slipped back and had to struggle to keep himself from tumbling all the way to the bottom. The more he looked, the more exasperated he became. There didn't seem to be an entry. If there was one, and there had to be, it was so cleverly hidden he would never be able to find it. Sighing deeply, Ereth wondered what he should do. He was exhausted, angry. Oh, wet worm water, he whispered between chattering teeth. Why did I ever agree to do this? Why did I leave home? Oh, Poppy, why did you abandon me? He took some deep breaths and shut his eyes. He had hardly done so when he felt a sharp smack on his nose. That's the end of chapter 8.